Hey everyone, I just wanted to get on today and take a couple minutes to talk about some of my favorite brushes that I use on a daily basis and how I use them. So these are all Seint brushes. They're great to apply 3D makeup. They're great for little spots, eyeshadows, everything you could possibly need. So my first favorite, this guy here. This is our buff brush. Smaller, larger end. It's pretty dense. So I find for me, I get really good coverage with this. I use this to apply most of my highlights from the larger corrective areas to my main color. I do most of my buffing with this brush. Um, it's pretty great. The only thing I can't do as far as corrective with this is the small areas. And that is where our little multitasker brush comes in here. And with the multitasker, I will come in with this end. And if it's really small, I'm going to come in with this guy. And the reason when you do corrective that you want a smaller brush is usually you're correcting with a color that is darker than your natural skin tone to neutralize the imperfections on your face. And so if you cover too much of that area, what's going to happen is you're going to be on skin that doesn't need any correction, and that darker color is really going to stand out. So you want to come in with the right size brush to fix the problem, if that makes sense. So this guy's great for that. Next, our detail brush. Now, this guy is like kind of an oval. It's also pretty dense, but because the bristles are longer, they're a little softer, and then a little fluffy end here. And what this brush is really great for is stuff like coming down the nose, hitting the triangle here. So I use this a lot for my brighter colored highlight. Also great for contour if you want to use it for contour. Even can use this edge right here and come down the nose. Can hit really easily because of the shape of this. It's a great contour tool. The other brush that I really like for contour personally is this guy. It's actually our powder brush, and I'm not even sure if that's the correct intent, but if you'll note, this kind of like lipstick shaped brush gets a really fine edge, and I really like to come in here and then also use it flat here for my contour. That's probably not the appropriate use, but it works really well on my face. And that is the beauty of our brushes, is you can multi-purpose so far out of the boundary of where they're really intended for. The other end of this brush is the powder brush. And I use this side for a lot of my illuminators to dab on. If I'm going to do dusting powder, this one's just really, really nice powder application. So those are great for that. And this here is our bronzer and our cheek brush. So I generally apply my cheek color with the smaller end here. It's dense enough that I can get it right where I want it, but fluffy enough that I'm not getting a super dark line of cheek color. And then I actually take this really fluffy end and I generally kind of buff out my cheek and my contour so you can still see very clear my line here. However, it's not, I guess, you don't see exactly where I stuck it. I kind of blend it into my skin that way. So I love that for that. I don't really use it for anything else unless I'm going to wear bronzer. And then again, I will use this everywhere I apply the bronzer, and then I'll really buff the areas out as well. So next, eyeshadow. This is really great for getting right in here, getting here. If you want a more pigmented crease, fluffy side, great for up here, blending everything out, even to sweep across the lid if you don't want it quite as pigmented. You can see that this side here is pretty dense. This side here, really soft and fluffy. So those work that way. And the last brush that I use on a semi-daily basis is our line brush. Now, technically, you could use the multitasker in the same way. It's just not quite as angled, although, you know, it is small, so you can do eyebrows, but I really like being able to come in and do these very clean lines here on my eyebrows and to brush up in kind of, I guess, sort of the look now is to mimic the hairs with the powder. And then obviously it's the only brush that has this side where you can brush through. You can brush through your lashes. Really, really great little guy. And the price point on this is great for the quality of it as well. I believe this one's only $22, so it's not one of our pricier brushes, but it's really worth it. So those are my day-to-day go-tos. If I had to pick just one brush to start, for me personally, it would be the buff brush. I feel like I could do everything that I couldn't do with my fingers with this guy. I can definitely buff out my face. I can apply all of my highlight and contour with it. And as far as eyes, the parts that I just couldn't get with this, I could use my finger if I had to. So this would be number one. And if I had to go for a second brush personally, probably detail next, just because you can get